Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Smells Like. I'm Josh. So good to see you. This is my full review on Chanel Egoiste. This is a fragrance that came out all the way back in 1990. The perfumer is Jacques Polge. Look at the bottle, just kind of a classic, simple, really cool looking bottle, I think. Elegant, very much the Chanel style of just a classic Chanel perfume. This is an eau de toilette. Like I said, this version of the fragrance came out in 1990. But as far back as 1987 was the precursor to this fragrance, and that was called Bois Noir. And Bois Noir was created, it was supposed to accompany a new men's line that Chanel was creating at the time. And the creative director at the time asked Jacques Polge if he would create a new men's fragrance, a dark, woody fragrance to go along with that men's line. Bois Noir was the fragrance. It came out, the men's apparel line never was released. They went ahead and released the men's fragrance only in Chanel boutiques, and it caught on a little bit of a following, and so they decided to do a wider release of the fragrance, but they renamed it, and they renamed it Egoiste. The inspiration for the fragrance came from Bois d'Ile, which was an older Chanel release, released all the way back, I believe in the 1920s, from the perfumer Ernest Beau, who also did Chanel No. 5. He was the Chanel perfumer who did that first line of perfumes, and Bois d'Ile is a sandalwood based fragrance, and so Jacques Polge wanted to create a sandalwood fragrance that had some darker notes and had a little bit more of a masculine tone, fragrance that was created for men. And so Egoiste and Bois d'Ile do share a couple of characteristics, but mainly just that sandalwood. They're totally different fragrances, although a couple of things that they do share, again, that sandalwood and those characteristic Chanel aldehydes. I love that Jacques Polge decided to put a nice blast of those aldehydes in this one just to give it that Chanel touch, kind of a nod back to those classic Chanel scents that were just aldehyde bombs. Let's talk about the notes for a second. I feel like the notes on this one are a little bit hard to nail down. You have the notes that Chanel gives, which I believe are like rosewood, coriander, rose, carnation, cinnamon. They talk about sandalwood, vanilla, and ambrette seeds, which ambrette seeds create sort of a musk without using like animal musk. But then when I look on Fragrantica, those notes don't necessarily line up with what Fragrantica. They don't have ambrette at all. And nobody mentions aldehydes. I definitely get a nice blast of aldehydes in the opening of this. I also get that ambrette seed, also called musk mallow. It's a really nice musk that a lot of perfumes use, and a lot of perfumers began using it as an alternative to using the animal-based musks that they used to use a long time ago. Of course, now all those things are synthetically made, but I definitely detect that ambrette seed in here, although it's not listed by Fragrantica. Chanel lists that as a note. Let me read Fragrantica's notes here. In the top, they have rosewood, mahogany wood, tangerine, and coriander. And so Chanel had said rosewood and coriander. In the middle, we have carnation, cinnamon, and rose. Those are all notes that Chanel mentioned. And then in the base, Fragrantica lists leather, sandalwood, vanilla, tobacco, and amber. When I did my unboxing of this, I had a couple of people comment, and I guess they're like huge fans of this fragrance. They told me about all these threads on Reddit that are dedicated just to this fragrance. Apparently there are people that are they are in love with this one fragrance, and so there's a lot of cool information about it out there. But one of the diehard fans told me there's no tobacco in this, that's wrong. I don't know where that came from. I feel like I can detect something tobacco-like in this. It kind of has like a a musty, old, like pipe tobacco kind of feel to it. This fragrance really makes me feel like I'm in an old room that's made from, old, dark, deep woods with wood furniture and, dark, deep wood floor. Some really nice, old, worn-in leather chairs, leather couches, and then books all over the place, kind of older, leather-bound books. And then maybe some pipe tobacco on the table, somewhere in the room or in front of you there. It's kind of the vibe I get from this. Maybe a little bit of a vanillic thing coming from somewhere in the air. This, for me, is one of my favorite fragrances I've ever got to try. This is a 10 out of 10. One of my favorite fragrances that I've ever gotten to wear. Even though I just recently got this bottle, I've had a few weeks with a decant that I wore, and so I was able to wear this quite a few times. And in that short 2-week span, this just became one of my favorite fragrances of all time. It's so unique, but also really wearable. It has masculine qualities. It has some classic qualities that make, sort of gentlemanly qualities, but it also isn't too stuffy. I feel like it could still be worn casually and really wear well, but it could really be dressed up too. It's really deep and dark and luxurious, but it also has some light in it. Those Chanel aldehydes that you get in the beginning, some of the citrus, some of the cold spices like coriander, really give it some lift, some coolness, some light. But then you have that anchored by some warm things like cinnamon and vanilla. That give it some darkness, some depth. These dark woods like mahogany wood, rosewood, they're just such rich, dark wood. And then at the center of the composition is this amazing sandalwood. That Chanel sandalwood, that similar sandalwood note that you get in the classic Bois d'Ile, that you get even in the new Bleu de Chanel Pure Parfum, has this amazing sandalwood note. And Chanel, they do legit sandalwood that is of the highest quality and really smells amazing. Pricing on this also isn't too bad. Retail from the Chanel website for the 100 ml is $95. You can get a 50 ml for $75. Really don't think that's bad. You're not going to find this at discounters. In fact, you're not going to find this at most retail stores. I've never been able to find this in person, even at places that carry all the other fragrances in the Chanel line, some of the others that you don't see as much, like maybe Pour Monsieur or Antaeus. Nordstrom is the best I've been able to find in terms of having all of the men's Chanel releases, except for Egoiste. They don't carry that. I don't know if maybe it's only available on the Chanel website in terms of being in North America. Or the United States. I've never seen it in a store, and I've heard that it isn't in stores. So I don't know if they also maybe carry it in their boutiques. But so this is one you're gonna maybe need to get your hands on a decant from somebody in the community. I found a decant on eBay at a good price, but I definitely recommend giving this one a try. This is really, I think, gonna be one of my signature scents for this fall and winter. It fits the fall and winter season perfectly because it just has this warmth, this darkness, but it also has enough energy. It has that light in it that really kind of just keeps you going, keeps you wanting more, and keeps you wanting to come back to this day after day to spray it on. The longevity is excellent. I really got good to excellent performance in terms, again, of the longevity. I get 10 to 12 hours, but it does become a skin scent at around the 3-hour mark. So I really got a heavy projection for about 3 hours, and then it sits a little bit closer to the skin. And then I can detect it on my skin for easily up to about the 10-hour mark, and just depending on the conditions, maybe up to 11 or 12 hours. So really no slouch in that department. The perfumer Jacques Polge, in an interview from a couple of years ago, said that this is his favorite, still to this day, his favorite men's perfume that he's ever created. That it was so avant-garde for the time, and for it to have been embraced and accepted and gotten the following that it has over the years. There's a famous TV ad that Chanel used to run for this. You definitely should look up on YouTube. Look up the Chanel Egoiste television ad from the 90s. It's so awesome. It's so Chanel. It's so 90s. It's so weird. Kind of made this one famous, I guess, back then. And to think that this came out in 1990, and if you count its predecessor, Bois Noir, in 87, then really this perfume is more than 30 years old in terms of its concept. And to think that it still stands up today, it still smells just as modern as I'm sure it ever did. It's just pure class and a real pleasure to wear this one. Like I said, Jacques Polge's favorite men's scent that he ever created, and that interview was even after Bleu de Chanel. And even with all the success of Bleu de Chanel, this is still the darling of Jacques Polge's Chanel catalog. So really happy to have finally added a bottle of this to my collection. I'd love to hear in the comments your thoughts on Egoiste. Not to be confused with Platinum Egoiste. They are nowhere near the same fragrance. I don't really know what the connection is there. So don't get this confused with Platinum Egoiste. That is a totally different release and totally different fragrance. For me, this far superior fragrance of the two. Although Platinum Egoiste is not bad, it's okay. I'd love to hear in the comments your thoughts on Chanel Egoiste. And also maybe let me know what's a fragrance that you tried that you just absolutely fell in love with. You know, as soon as you spent a little time with it, you just knew that was going to be one of your favorite fragrances. Let me know, what are some of the fragrances like that for you? This one is one of those. Dior Homme is another one that really fits that category of just being an excellent perfume that from the time I tried it up till now, I just have always loved and think I always will love that fragrance. Is one of my favorite designer fragrances. So let me know in the comments your thoughts on that. Be sure to like and subscribe, especially if you'd like to do this again sometime. And we'll see you right here at the Smells Like Fragrance channel for another video. Thanks so much for watching.